Dear students, welcome to the Part 2 video lesson on the chapter Final Speech in the movie The Great Dictator. In our last class, we have discussed the first two paragraphs of the speech. Hope you remember it. Just to refresh your memory, I shall summarize the main points we discussed. Chaplin begins his speech in an apologetic way. He says sorry for what he, as an emperor, has done to the world. He says that man by nature is helpful. We must help everyone irrespective of caste, creed, color, or nationality. We should not hate or look down upon others. All of us have equal rights, and Mother Earth has enough resources to provide for everyone. Greed is the root cause of all the violence and bloodshed. Greed has created barriers of hatred and prevented people from mingling freely. This hatred among each other has created all the violence and bloodshed. Instead of abundance, the technological developments have created deficiency in our lives. We lack humane qualities like love, compassion, and generosity. As knowledge increased, we became more doubtful, and our cleverness made us hard-hearted and unkind. We lost the ability to feel for others. Chaplin says, more than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. If these qualities are not there, life will become violent and all will be lost. That is about our last class. Now shall we continue with our lesson? We shall begin from the third paragraph. Here it goes. I'll read the paragraph once. Listen carefully. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. Coming to the paragraph again. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. Chaplin gives two examples to illustrate his argument. He tells aeroplane and the radio are two inventions that helped people to come closer. In the sense, we can reach anywhere in this world in a matter of a few hours thanks to the invention of aeroplane. Radio is another invention that helps people communicate to the whole world, giving information about the happenings in no time. Coming to the next line. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all. Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world, millions of despairing men, women, and little children, victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. The basic feature of these inventions tells us the need for the goodness in men, for universal brotherhood, and for the unity of people. Chaplin knows that he is being heard by the whole world through the radio. His words are heard by millions of men, women, and children who are forced to lead hopeless lives, who suffer the tortures of the dictators for no reason at all. He wants to give them moral support and solace. Moving on to the summary and analysis of this paragraph. Charlie Chaplin says that modern technological achievements like aeroplane and radio have reduced the physical distance among people. Actually, these inventions tell us about the need for the goodness in men and universal brotherhood and unity. He says that his voice is now heard by the whole world through the radio, a whole lot of people who suffer the tortures under the cruel regime of the dictators. Chaplin criticizes the dictators like Hitler and Mussolini, who are threatening the whole world with their cruel dealings. Innocent people are forced to lead a miserable life. This happens in every age. Even now, the powerless people are tortured by the powerful around the world. Moving on to the fourth paragraph. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Perish means to become destroyed. Going back to the para again. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. Through this passage, Chaplin pacifies and also inspires the suffering people around the world. He tells them, do not lose their hope. Don't despair. These tough times are caused by our greedy leaders. These leaders torture people because they fear human progress. Coming to the next line. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people. Charlie Chaplin hopes that this hatred of men created by the dictators will definitely pass one day. When these dictators die, when they die, the power they had forcefully taken from the people will return to the people. Next line. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Here Chaplin talks about the eternal truth that states men are mortal. However powerful or influential, no leader can win over his own death. And this is one reason why Chaplin says this age of misery will end one day when the leaders who caused it die. But liberty cannot be destroyed. When dictators die, liberty will be established again. Coming to the summary and analysis of this paragraph, Chaplin exhorts the innocent people around the world not to lose their hope. He states that these miserable times will definitely pass. The dictators inflict miseries on people because they fear human progress. Chaplin pacifies the whole world by his soothing words. He says the hate of men will pass, and when the dictators die, people will get back their power. He also adds that so long as men die, liberty will never get destroyed. Chaplin is so optimistic that he believes that this age of violence and bloodshed will surely end when these dictators die. Then the poor people will regain their power and establish democracy in this world. Moving on to the fifth paragraph. I'll read the paragraph once. Please listen. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to those unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. Coming to the para again. Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. This passage is addressed to the soldiers gathered there, soldiers who are forced to obey their dictators. Chaplin tells them not to obey the orders of these cruel people. The leaders actually look down upon them. The cruel leaders force the soldiers to lead their lives according to the dictatorial patterns. They treat the soldiers like slaves, forces them to obey their orders. Chaplin tells them the leaders are treating the soldiers as cattle. They are used as cannon fodder, which means they are regarded merely as material to be used in wars. The dictators don't give any value for the lives of the soldiers. Cannon fodder. Fodder actually means the food that you give to cattle. Cannon fodder means, here it means soldiers, they are regarded merely as material to be used in war. Coming to the next line. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. Chaplin requests the soldiers not to submit themselves to these dictators. Chaplin calls the dictators unnatural, machine men with machine minds and machine hearts. He means to say that the dictators have lost their humane qualities. They are no longer human beings. Coming to the next line. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. He compares the soldiers with the dictators and says, unlike the dictators, soldiers are humans, which means they are more compassionate and generous, or they are like any other ordinary human beings. So they must live accordingly. Coming to the next line. You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Chaplin tells the soldiers not to hate others. Only those who are unloved hate others. Such people are unnatural. Coming to the next line. Don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. Soldiers, don't fight for slavery. Fight for liberty. Chaplin requests the soldiers not to fight to conquer countries and create slavery. Fight for creating freedom for men. Coming to the summary and analysis of this paragraph. Charlie Chaplin's character, the barber, had been in the army. He was a private during the World War I. He had valiantly fought for his country, Tumania, at that time. But he met with an accident while rescuing his senior officer, Schultz. He lost his memory and was confined to hospital for 20 years. Nobody cared for him during that time. After his discharge, he again started his earlier job as a barber. Chaplin knew very well the life of a soldier. A soldier's life is completely submitted to the orders of his leader. A soldier is looked down upon only as a tool or a machine to win a war. He doesn't have the right to do what he wants. Chaplin tells the soldiers not to live the life of cattle and fight for creating slavery in the world. On the other hand, they must think and act for the good of the people. They must fight for restoring humanity and liberty in the world. Through this paragraph, Charlie Chaplin makes it very clear that not all who involve themselves in war are cruel. Many of the soldiers are really kind and good-hearted, but in a war, they are forced to obey the orders of their leaders. Chaplin requests the soldiers to think and act so that they can work for restoring peace and liberty in the world. Dear students, shall we conclude for today? Hope you are following me well. We shall continue with the chapter in the next video. Thank you.